What's going on, everybody? It is TripleCrown24 back today with a new card show recap video. I am back in the saddle today after my trip to Nashville, Tennessee for the Nashville card show. 750 or 770, depending on who you asked, tables at this show. And wow, it was this show was absolutely massive. I say that number of tables, and in your head you might be thinking that's a lot, but when you step into the room, or rooms, I guess I should say, it is just incredible how much space that amount of tables takes up. But overall, it was a very successful weekend. It kind of came together as I drew it up, and was very pleased with the results. I have a lot to show off today. I have a lot to talk about, and I'm actually going to talk about one of the things I heard a lot at the show, this upcoming podcast episode that will air tomorrow. So be sure to check that out at 5:30 Eastern time tomorrow. Happy Halloween to everyone, and I'm giving out a few little treats to start this off. If you remember my last card show recap video, before I tell you what I was able to pick up of this one and tell you more about the show, I want to give these away as promised. So I asked you guys last time to go on the video and leave a comment with what your favorite card show pickup was so far this year, or something that you would like to pick up. And I'm going to share my screen here in just a moment to show you the list of names. But first, we're going to roll the dice. Whoever's name is on top, just reach out to my, just send me an email or reach out on one of my social media platforms to get in touch, and I will get these out your way. So we'll roll two dice. Anything with snake eyes, it's a 7. So let's go ahead and close that out here. Show you this. Apologize if you're just looking for the card show recap, but I wanted to go ahead and get this out of the way before I forgot about it, because knowing me, I'd probably record this and then forget. Here's the list of names. If I forgot your name, I do apologize. I did the best I could to double check. There weren't that many comments, but I've been known to miss something or make a mistake every now and then. So here we go. 7 times. If your name's on top, you will win these 2 packs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th final time. And it is THA Card Story who is going to take it down after 7 times. So congratulations. You do win these 2 absolute football packs here. Looking for some Josh Allen rookies, maybe some Lamar Jackson. What do you say? Hopefully they're in there for you, man. So go ahead and reach out to me. Let me know where I need to send them off to. So with that being said, why don't we go ahead and talk about the show? Overall impressions is that for a lot of people, the vibe of how they did was meh. That's the best way I can describe it. For me, I thought I had a really successful show. It was a little bit above expectations in terms of what I wanted to do sales-wise. I was set up at this one. It wasn't just walking around. And I was able to make some trades happen and make some buys happen too, that I really was not too optimistic after the first day. I thought that my buying would have been greatly reduced in terms of capacity, just because there wasn't enough that caught my eye that I could really make a move on that was within the general area of where I was set up at. So what did I did come away with? Well, I have a ton of stuff to show you. So I don't even know where the best place to start is. I think I'm just going to grab a stack and get into it. There's going to be a little bit of everything today. So first up is going to be these Babe Ruth postcards. These are 1974 TCMA postcards. Took me a while and some detective work to figure out exactly what they are. I contacted a few friends to see if they had any insights, and Google was a huge assist in figuring these out. So that's 4 different postcards here. I'll be sending these off to SGC. That's the best way for me to personally move them, just because, well, with postcard condition, I am a huge novice. I don't really deal in oversized cards all too often. In fact, most of the ones I've ever had were consigned to me. So I think having them slabbed up will make it a little bit easier to store them, take them around, whatever the case may be, and will also help me out in terms of condition. They're not in fantastic shape, but they are cool pieces. And I mean, come on, it's Babe Ruth. I mean, who doesn't like Babe Ruth, right? So that was one of the pickups. And then I'm actually going to be sharing my screen a couple of times here on Twitter because some of the cards I had purchased had already sold by the time that I set up the next day or whatever the case might have been. So here's one of my tweets. This was what I picked up after the first day, and the three cards that are kind of in that right quadrant there, I guess you could say, are the ones that I already sold. So that Burrow and the Kelsey, those were part of a trade. Those were moved not too long actually after I got them. And then that Gehrig Diamond was something that I picked up on the way out. If you want to pause the video there, you can get a better look at it. But along with that Gehrig Diamond, I did pick up this card. If you see any of these stickers on here, these were my sticker prices. So this isn't what I paid for them. It's just what I set them out at in my case. But first edition Pikachu, the yellow cheeks version. So the more common version, the rarer one is the red cheeks. And I told the dealer this when I picked this up that this is probably the most random combination, but we agreed on a deal for this and the Gehrig Diamond. Just I wanted the Pikachu, but I wanted to bundle it with something else, and I'm a sucker for the flawless diamond, so I went ahead and got that. So this is the one of two Pokemon cards that I currently have in my inventory right now, but not a bad one to have, right? With Pikachu, one of the classics there. So that was one of the first ones, or one of the first purchases that I made, and it came at the very end of day one, which was, I mean, and when I say the very end, I mean I was literally walking out the door to go to the trade night in the adjacent expo building, and I stopped at one of the tables near the door. I saw that he had a few things that I was interested in, and we made a deal there. So this was something that actually I acquired then later that night at the first of two trade nights. There was one in the same building pretty much right after the show. It was supposed to start 30 minutes after, but there were so many people just kind of like waiting in the picnic area outside the expo that I think they just decided like, hey, let's just let them in since everything was ready to go anyways. I think people just wanted to keep the show going, so to speak. But I saw this and I'm like, what the heck is this? So this is a 1983 Suhates Renaissance. Totally butchered that. I apologize. Wayne Gretzky keychains title card. So you can see here, these were produced in Taiwan, but it's a just like a little collectible keychain here. The only time you'll see a PSA 10 of a card that has a pinhole in it, right? But I saw this and like that is just so unique and really interesting. It does have the dreaded PSA baggie on it. I hate it when they do that. I think that's probably because it's not quite large enough to be a tobacco size card, but it's too large to fit in the micro size holders that they have. So fortunately, PSA, they're not like custom fitted like SGC. So you have to take what you can get. But I just thought this was super cool. A lot of people saw it at my table the next day and commented on it, and they shared that sentiment too. So I'm glad I'm not the only one who thought it was cool. Moving along here, taking a look at what I want to show off next. I did some value box digging throughout the day, and also just looking at some stuff. This guy who was set up not too far away from me had a bunch of autographs, and he had some non-sports or miscellaneous sport autographs. And I picked this one up. Unfortunately for me, I picked up the different version than what I was intending to. This is a 2014 Leaf Originals wrestling set. Shout out to my buddy Garrett, card cutter. Hope he's doing well right now. I know he's a huge wrestling collector out there, and all my other wrestling fans out there. But I know that this set has a bit of a cult following, I guess you could say, within the wrestling collector world, or at least that is my knowledge. Perhaps I'm completely wrong with it. So whenever I see someone who is like a more recognizable name, like if I see a Hogan or a Flair, generally they're crazy priced, rightfully so, but out of the range of what I'm willing to pay. But if I see one that seems cheap enough, I will go ahead and grab it. So this one here, I thought it was the image variation, which are tougher to hit. I didn't check the back to see that it was the regular one. I was looking for, I think, S1, and this is S2. And this one's numbered to 99 here. So did I overpay for this? Yeah, probably, but it's one of those that they're just not as easy to find. So I don't mind holding on to this one for a while. If That's what it comes down to. But that was the other pickup from trade night. I had spotted it at the show and wanted to go check it out, and that guy happened to be there at trade night, so it was nice that it worked out that way. And that was pretty much it for day one. I didn't really pick up too much. Now day two changes things quite a bit. I was able to pick up some nice vintage from a gentleman who walked up. We had a conversation about vintage, and he's probably around my age, and he had a few cards that I was interested in. I basically told him, like, this is where I need to be at on these. And I told him, if you want to pick and choose which ones you're comfortable giving up at this price, you're more than welcome to. And that's what he did. So I picked up the Sparky Anderson rookie. I've owned several of these over the years. This one is probably the nicest looking one that I've seen in terms of centering. Corners leave a little bit to be desired, but again, I'm not buying gem mint examples of these cards. I'm just buying ones that look nice. Here is a Dodgers team card, 1966 tops. I do love these team cards of the pennant-winning teams. Sometimes they can be sneaky underrated. Like when I was building my Tigers Ultimate Team set, the 68 tops Tigers team card. It is a high number, so that adds some of the difficulty to it. But it was nice to be able to pick that up and get it for cheap, because they are generally not all that cheap. And then a Sockers here. Say that 5 times fast. With Yaz. Shout out Mike, Canadian Cards, on that one. All the other Yaz fans out there as well. So just some, nothing that's too insane, but some cool stuff nonetheless. And then I finally got to actually step around and walk around a little bit from the table, which was nice, because I was I kind of just kept to my same little area, and I wanted to explore a little bit. And I'm going to show you this photo on Twitter here. When I was walking around, I saw this Ja Morant diamond, like the blue diamond parallel from 2021 Prism. It's the 75th anniversary. Those are the retail ones. The hobby ones are the red ones that are numbered out of 75. I absolutely love that parallel. I know that they're pretty pricey right now, and they're a little pricier than I think what they probably should be worth. And I'm going to pull up here. So I saw that sitting out, and I asked how much for it. And it was part of a package deal, because right next to it was this. It was an open Zion case, or Pelican case, as it's more affectionately called. And it had some cards displayed on the top. There was a DeJounte Murray Genesis from 2019 Mosaic. There was LeBron silver, the tribute dunk card. There was this Tyrese Maxey silver Prism rookie. And then there was a Devin Booker Prism rookie as well that were across the top here. And he had a sign on it saying that you can buy out this entire case. And I asked him, well, does it come with the case? And he said yes. Now, these cases are like 90 or $100, I think, for the 3-row ones. And I've been looking to get a second case because mine's only a 2-row. I like that mine fits in my backpack, but I could use a little bit extra room, especially when I'm going to buy, so that I can just put the stuff in there and not have to carry around like a storage box. So that was already tempting to me. And the fact that the Ja came with it and those 4 cards came with it, I was very much pleased with it. I thumbed through it, and there was some solid stuff in there. There was a Jalen Brunson rookie autograph. I still have that one, and that one will go into the store here eventually. There was a couple of other like mid-end cards. In fact, I'm going to show you some of the ones that I still have here, because I actually sold some of them. But there was this Zach Levine Mosaic autograph, which was a better card than I thought it was. There was a couple of slabs, nothing in here that's going to, really go like, wow, that's huge. But I mean, solid, cheap slabs. There's always in the van for cheap slabs at shows, it seems, or at least at my table there is. Halliburton Prism rookie PSA 8. I imagine this was a broken dream at one point in time based on the cert number there. Giannis purple. More on Giannis in a moment. And then a Nickeil Alexander Walker red Ruby Wave. I think this is like one of the T-malls. It's a court side, which is kind of cool. The court sides are very popular, of course. So that was nice. And then 2 of the rows, if you refer back to the picture, I know it took it down off the screen. were all basically Curry, like a little bit of Curry, Joel Embiid, and then the entire right row was all Giannis cards. So I mean, there wasn't anything like there were no Giannis rookies in there or anything, but just some colors, some inserts from past years. The gentleman who sold this to me explained that he'd built up a Giannis and Embiid collection because those were some of his favorite players. But there were like a couple second year Currys in there. There were some nice Luka cards in there. He had some of these in card savers with these pull tabs on them. I assume that's because he wanted to grade them. I'll have to take a look myself to see if they are worth sending in. But it's a Giannis second year prism there. Zion second year playoff ticket from Contenders, number 249. And then a Luka from Contenders, his second year as well. This one's numbered to 49. It looks like this is a purple. So those cards were pretty great too to add in. And the whole thing was $330 for all of it. And I was able to sell the LeBron and the Maxi to my good friend Brian. He's opening up a shop down in Kentucky. Actually, next weekend is the grand opening. So I was able to get him a couple of things that will work well in his shop and share the love on the sweetheart deal that I got. I ended up selling that jaw later on. It was a PSA 9, and I sold that at trade night. It was instantly a very popular card once I took it back to my table and put it in my case with some of the other cards that I had put in there. For the sake of time, this video is probably going to go 45 minutes knowing me. I'm not going to thumb through all the cards, but the next step in the process is that I'm going to look at what will go to COMC, and then I'll probably put together a lot of the different players on eBay, just player lots for the cards that don't make the cut for a COMC submission. So that is the game plan with those, but it's one of my favorite pickups. And I've heard of buying out a table before. I've never heard of buying out a Pelican case, but that's what happened. So that was definitely a more unique experience. So that was that. Moving along, day 2, I met this gentleman. He was extremely friendly, just great guy to deal with. His name was Jay, and I was JT, so yeah, that worked out well. And he was interested in my Luka stainless stars gold that I had acquired at the Midwest Monster. And we talked for a bit. One of the nicest guys to work with, and we had a great conversation, just talking about things. He told me that he was kind of newer to the hobby, and he picked out one of the cards from my from the Pelican case deal that I really wanted to keep and potentially send in myself, but it was, he really wanted it too, and Lucas his favorite player, so I decided, you know what, this one's yours, man. So he made an offer to me, and these were some of the cards that I got back from him in this deal. I believe one of them I must have put somewhere else because I can't remember exactly where. Oh, here it is. Got too many cards sitting here on my table. This was the main one here that came back in my part of the trade. It is a Griffey Home Field Advantage. This is the legendary Home Field Advantage. These are tougher to hit. I would say significantly tougher to hit than the active players. They are called super short prints. I don't know how many of them are out there. I would guess between 25 and 50. I'm sure I could reverse engineer the pack odds to get a more definitive print run, but that's a lot of time, and I'm a little short on time for this week. So when I saw this one and I looked, he told me what these were going for, and I was like, holy crap, that is a lot. Like, Griffey's a popular player, of course, but when I saw that, I'm like, holy crap, that is a lot more than I thought it would be. But I just felt like I could get the number I wanted out of this Griffey easier than I could the Luka. Even though I really love that Luka card, I love that the gold stainless stars. To know that it was going to a good home, that's one of the main reasons I do this. And I'm going to talk more about that actually in one of my pickups that will be towards the end of the pickup section. But this was the main piece. He tossed this one into the deal as well. It's number to 199 from this year's Prism Baseball Griffey. Can't go wrong with a Griffey numbered card. Doesn't matter what it is. I do like that image of him too. That's a good image that they picked for that. Invisible card here. Yeah, just a blank filler card. And then this John Morant lottery ticket. I love this design on these lottery tickets. This one is actually in really great shape. And I will probably send this in. In fact, I'm going to send this in. I had someone trying to buy this off me who went through the case because they were just curious to see what the Pelican case deal entailed. And I told them, no, I'm sending this one in. So this was the piece that made me think, all right, I'll give up the Luca because I do like this card a lot too. I like John Morant, so why not? And it was a trade that both sides were happy with. So that was that deal. So again, great to work with Jay in acquiring that one. Next up was a deal where I had picked up a Jamar Chase pink prism alongside this card here. And on these low number autographs, I do like dealing in them just because a lot of times when people approach me looking to sell stuff, we look it up. Sometimes people don't know exactly what they want, and I'm generally going to look up what, if there are any recent sales on their cards anyways, just to do my due diligence. I'm not an expert on much of anything really. And I can't keep up with everything in the market. I have a general idea when I see something that I pull out that I'm interested in, what I think it's probably worth. I can usually get within a good ballpark, but sometimes I'm way off. So just to avoid that and make sure it's fair for both sides, I will take a look and do it, make sure that I don't come out too far behind on a deal. But this Tre'Davious White red shimmer autograph, I believe these are first off the line exclusives from Prism. It's a defensive player. It's not a rookie. It's a sticker auto. Say what you will about it, but it is 10 of 10. Tre'Davious White is one of the better, if not one of the best corners in the league right now. And thought it was cool. So I decided to go ahead and add that with a Jamar Chase pink Prism that was later parlayed into a trade I would make on Sunday. So that was that. On trade night, Saturday night, there was a gentleman who I talked to who was more so into non-sports. He had some sports stuff as well, but he had a lot of Pokemon, and I showed him some of my Pokemon cards, and by some of them, I mean the two that I had on me, and we kind of talked about it. He showed me a few things that I asked him. He was teaching me about it, and I'm like, well, what do you look for? Because I want to know, like, you specifically, you deal in this stuff, you sell this stuff. What are you looking for when you're buying this for your cases? And we kind of talked through it, and just incredibly nice to share his knowledge with me. There's been a lot of people who have tried to, I don't know, pick their brains a bit, I guess is the best way to say it, when I see the Pokemon stuff as I try to learn more and more about it. And he was incredibly helpful. So I was grateful for that interaction. We didn't end up making a deal on anything, but he was incredibly helpful and gave me some perspective on certain things that he looks for and why he goes after certain things. I'm always trying to understand why people do certain things. So that was cool. And outside of that, I didn't pick up anything at trade night. The only card I bought was actually a gift for a friend of mine. So I don't have that to show off because it was already gifted to him. But I sold 2 cards and that was it. So we moved to Sunday, and it was kind of a coasting day. I had done well. I did incredibly well on Friday. I probably had one of the best days in the room on Friday. Saturday was more so a bunch of chip shots. There wasn't any like crazy multi-$1,000 sales or anything like that. It was just a lot of really solid like $20 to $100 cards that I was selling, and it was steady throughout, which was nice. There wasn't too many dull moments, and it made for a solid day overall. It wasn't a great day, but it was a solid day. And then Sunday came around. I made one sale very early on in the day, and there was a Derrick Henry collector came through. And if you're familiar with some of my inventory, then you'll know that one of my best pieces, or one of my favorite pieces, is my Derrick Henry National Treasures rookie booklet autograph with the laundry tag. It's numbered to 5. This guy had an absolutely insane Derrick Henry collection. And I mean, part of it was in his case, but a lot of it was in his vault. And I can only imagine how deep it goes, because the stuff that he brought with him alone was crazy in its own right. And, he had saw it one of the days and he wanted to come back and talk about it as the show had gone on. And he did. So we chatted. He said, "Are you open to trading at all?" I said, I'll take a look. I would prefer mostly cash on it. But when I saw his other Henry stuff, it was one of those things where I'm like, I just know that this guy is going to go home with this card. So we ended up making a deal. I will be fully transparent. I know some of you guys have asked for prices before when I do this. I was into the card for about $900. I was able to get $850 cash, which was, I got most of my money back on it. So I'm able to be into these cards for about $50 here. First up, little Money McPherson. I know this is probably a head scratcher to some, but here in Cincinnati, people love Evan McPherson. He was the rookie kicker for the Bengals last year, kicked them to the Super Bowl. And still, his cards aren't as hot as they were during the Super Bowl, of course, but a lot of people still really do like him. So I picked this up. I figured it would be a popular item here in Cincinnati. So decided to bring it back with me. And then this one was more so the centerpiece of the deal and what was coming back to me card wise was Ion stained glass from Mosaic. These aren't as tough to hit as some of the case hits out there. I was once in a case break of this. The only case break that I think I've gotten into a basketball wise and probably the last 3 years. I joined one because I got the Mavericks for cheap. And there were like 5 stained glasses in that case. So I don't think that these are all that tough to hit. But they are cool. And a lot of times they're really off-centered, at least from the ones that I've seen. So it's difficult to pull a 10 on them. Saw the Zion. I'm like, all right, I'll go ahead and take that. So, and the guy gave me a good price. And he was able to get the Henry. And one of the things I love about that is just that these really cool cards that I get, as much as I love them, and sometimes it's a little tough to see them go. I think that's the collector in me. I kind of feel a little sorrow sometimes when I see certain things go. It makes it a lot easier to part with certain cards when I know that they go into the hands of people who will really enjoy them or get something really great out of them, even on the smaller stuff. But it's even more rewarding on something like that, where I was able to add that to an already impressive Derrick Henry collection and kind of bring it to its rightful home. And I told the guy probably several times, like, I'm so glad that this is going to a good home. And I hope that he enjoys that card. And it's one of my favorite parts of doing this. I have to say, it's one of the things I get most excited about is getting those cards connected with the right people. So my emotional rant over there. Let me tell you about the final few deals that I made. I actually bought a signed title belt. I put up a picture of it on Twitter. And it was just because it was the autograph with the JSA authentication and then the belt itself alone. I highly doubt that I was able to get that. If I were to go get the item signed myself and then also go get it JSA certified, it would cost probably a lot more than what I paid for the belt. So I figured, you know what, why not? It'll be a cool piece to have in the store or to bring to a show. But then I believe it was 2 brothers who had this. If I remember the dynamic correctly, but his brother had this Cade Cunningham ice card. Love me some Cade. This is the first Cade Prism card that I have picked up. So love these ice parallels. They're not numbered. I think they are retail exclusives, if I'm not mistaken, or they're some non-numbered hobby insert. One of the two. Probably a hobby if I'm thinking about it more now. But it's in a 10. It has pretty good centering for a Prism card. It says a lot. There's a lot of them I've seen that are off-centered, so that was cool. Cade's hot right now. The Pistons are coming off a big win over the Warriors, so perfect timing on that one. And last but not least, I sold one of these on consignment, and I love this card a lot. It's Kobe 2003 Topps Chrome, LeBron's year, and a lot of these refractors from that set have they're not cheap. Let me just put it that way. I've had a couple over the years, and just really do. I love the design. It's basic. It doesn't overstay its welcome, and it has such a legendary rookie class, of course, with LeBron and D Wade and Bosh and Carmelo. So getting the veterans, if they're the right price, I will grab them, and that was the case here on this Kobe. So that was really the final pickup, and that is finally it. I know I went almost 30 minutes talking about my pickups. Man. All right. Let me tell you about the show itself, and I'll try to go through this a little quickly. Let me take a little sip of my drink here. Been talking a while. Let me tell you about the show floor. There was a little bit of everything at this show. Anything that you could want was there. I saw such a variety. And I think that was very healthy. It wasn't just base prism stuff all over the place. It wasn't just the same tops issued vintage stuff that you see. There was anything you could think of. That's the best way I can put it. I keep repeating myself, but that is really true. What was more interesting to me than the diversity of the show floor's contents was what people were looking at. And I'm going to talk about this in tomorrow's podcast. So I really don't want to dive into it too much. But the number one thing I heard when I asked people how's the show going is that they were quote unquote overwhelmed, or they said there was a lot to take in. And I can understand that. Again, I'm going to tell you more about why I think that is in the podcast tomorrow. If you really want to know about that, highly recommend you listen to it. I'm excited to record it later today. But that is what I was hearing. And what was moving for me was some of the more unique items. Now, I sold a Burrow Orange Reactive Mosaic. I sold a base John Morant Mosaic Rookie. So the more common things, I was selling those too. I had people expressing interest in more so meat and potatoes type of cards. But outside of that, the most asked about items in my case were some of the more unique things. And among all the dealers who I talked to, one of the guys who said that he had a fantastic show was one who was dealing with toys, comics, Funko Pops, and then like non-sports stuff. So he was into like the Star Wars cards and the Marvel cards and the Pokemon cards. And really, he was one of only maybe 4 vendors that I can remember that were set up there who had that kind of stuff. And he stood out and he did incredibly well because there is a lot of overlap. I mean, naturally, when you have a bunch of collectors, you rarely just see a collector who only does one thing. They branch into a lot of different things. I'm sure many of you listening to this are nodding your head like, yeah, I do this and that. And there's other things that you collect outside of cards. So it does make sense that it would overlap where people would be interested in those things too. And hey, they stood out and those kind of cards were extremely popular. Outside of that, it was more so returned to what people had strayed away from in some of the recent shows. Although people are looking for the unique stuff, there was still plenty of interest around my Burrow and my Herbert stuff. There were still a ton of people who were looking at the all-time greats for vintage, Mantle, Mays, and Aaron. So not too much deviation from the norm there. Basketball-wise, it was in Tennessee. We're not exactly close to Memphis, but there are a lot of Grizzlies fans who are in the Nashville area. So lots of intrigue around Ja Morant, of course. A lot of intrigue around Desmond Bane as well. And that was kind of what people were looking for. What wasn't so hot was baseball. There's a lot of Braves fans that are in the Nashville area. They are, I would guess, the closest professional team. I'd say it's probably a toss-up between them and the Cincinnati Reds, but weren't too many Reds fans there, especially compared to what I'm used to. Definitely very Braves heavy. And there were some interest in the Braves, but it was mostly there's actually a lot of interest in Chipper Jones. That was probably the most common name that I heard. But people were also looking at the hot young names, so Grissom, Strider, Michael Harris, all those guys they were really looking at. Not too much love for Acuna or Albies, not too much love for Dansby Swanson or ex-Braves now, and in a case like Freddie Freeman. So even in terms of like the Astros and the Phillies with the World Series going on, there wasn't too much intrigue around baseball stuff right now, which I mean, this is a very good time to buy baseball. If you're looking to buy something as low as you possibly can, hey, baseball, especially current players, it is a great time, let me tell you. So that was intriguing to me. People always want to buy low, but I don't know if they were necessarily looking in the right spots because there was a lot of deals to be had on baseball based on kind of the general vibe in the room, or at least that was my guess. So that was what was hot and what was not. Let me go ahead and finally wrap this up here. It didn't take 45 minutes. Probably check in a little under 40. That's good for me on a show with as much to talk about as I had here. I always wrap it up with something I liked, something I didn't like, and something I liked to go ahead and end the show. Something I liked. This is very random, but it was one of the last interactions that I had on Sunday because there were concession stands around there, and I try to avoid the concession stand food because it's not always the easiest to eat healthy or eat properly when you're going to these shows. I do splurge a little bit. I don't go crazy. I don't like down like 4 large pizzas and get like a bucket of chicken wings or anything like that. But sometimes some of those smells from the concession stand linger over. Or people are walking around with their snacks and like, damn, that smells really good. And there was these soft pretzels, and I haven't had a soft pretzel in a long time. It's probably been, oh man, I can't remember. It's been a long time since I've had a soft pretzel. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to treat myself a little bit today and get one. Uh, and there was this lady who was working the concession stand, and bless the heart of these concession stand workers, because there are a lot of hungry people there. There are a lot of guys there who can, uh, we like to eat, us card show guys. So uh, we like to have our food, and keeping up with everybody and keeping up with some of the lines. Sometimes that form can be tough. So I dropped just a random $1 bill I had in their little tip basket that they had. The pretzel was like $4 or something. So I just, put that there. I always like to try to give them cash when possible so that the card processing places don't get to eat a portion of the tip. Um, but the lady said, "Thank you so much." And I just told her, "Well, thank you guys for all that you're doing." And she said, "You guys are so nice. And it really does mean a lot. Thank you." And I asked her, like, "What do you mean by that?" And she's like, "You card show guys, you're very polite and very respectful." And I said, "Really? We can be difficult to deal with," just kind of joking around. She says, "No, you wouldn't believe some of the types of events that we have going on here that I've worked before." And what that really means to me is that the people who were there were being polite. They were being respectful. And when you're hungry, you can become hangry, and that might mean you're a little bit unpleasant to deal with. I've been hangry before. We all have. Uh, but the fact that they're treating the workers there with such respect, and who really help with making the show a positive experience in some of the ways that may not be at the forefront, but they do contribute a lot to the show and add to it. It's just, I was very pleased with that. I think with some of the stories that we saw in 2021 of people getting into altercations in parking lots over blaster boxes at Walmart, or some of the negative reputation that was developed in the hobby in some instances, when you hear things like that, and as a community as a whole, it shows that people are respectful and people treat others with kindness. It goes a longer way, and I think it's a good thing for the hobby. It helps with the hobby's image overall. And I'm talking about concession stand food here. Um, it may not seem like the two are linked, but really, when you're coming into a venue like this is, we don't own the venue. The promoter doesn't own the venue. This is a rented facility. These employees are coming in to help out with the show. So to treat them with kindness and respect, and to hear that, was I was appreciative of it too. To know that people were treating the workers there with that care and respect that went into it. So I'm glad that lady felt that way, and I hope all the staff there felt that way. They were doing a fantastic job all weekend long. So kudos to them for helping making the show what it was. All right, something I didn't like. There were two interactions, complete 180 here, that I had with people trying to sell me things or people trying to buy me things. And it devolved into whining slash begging for me to take their number, or whining or being pouty when I wouldn't sell them a card at a certain price, when I wouldn't, quote unquote, leave meat on the bone for them. I've had a few people comment before, like, well, you should leave meat on the bone for them. And I mean, well, what am I, chopped liver? Am I am I not supposed to make money? I paid money to come set up here. I paid for my hotel to stay here, and to show up here and bring my showcases and price all my stuff out and put all the time into it. Um, these guys have expenses too, but I'm the vendor here. To me, it's just one of those things that I'm like, scratching my head a little bit. But I don't mind some negotiations going back and forth, or I don't expect people to consider those things when they approach a dealer trying to sell. There were a lot of people definitely trying to get more than what their cards were worth, which I can't do much with as a vendor, to be able to buy cards at 125% of market value. But whining or being like, "Come on, man, what will you do this? Can you do this?" Or like begging, like, "Come on, I need meat on the bone. I need some room." One of them was a YouTuber. I don't know what the channel is or anything. Um, I think you probably recorded a segment for his recap or whatever it might be, but just I don't mind going back and forth, but don't beg, don't whine, people. It's just I don't know. It rubs me the wrong way, and like nobody's entitled to any of this. So I just I don't know. I wanted to share that, but it just that kind of rubs me the wrong way when people get like that. Nobody's entitled to give you a certain price to pay for your cards, or when you're trying to buy the cards, nobody's obligated to sell it to you at a certain price. It's just it is what it is. So let's end on a positive note, shall we? We had a bit of a coalition of dealers within my little section there of us working together. A lot of us were on our own. So if we needed to go to the bathroom, like all of us have locks on our cases and everything. So security isn't a huge issue. And there are security guards walking around as well at this show. So it is a pretty safe show in terms of having, if you're bringing in expensive cards and that you have to do your due diligence. You have to be aware of your surroundings, of course, but uh, just if you needed to go walk around to go shopping yourself, or you needed to go get food, or you needed to go to the bathroom, whatever the case may be, there were a lot of dealers looking out for each other or trying to promote fellow dealers. I was sending people over to fellow dealers who I knew who might have something that the customer was interested in, and people also sending others my way as well. Just really good teamwork. And it doesn't always work like that, where sometimes I'll set up next to someone and I won't have a single word with them. And sometimes we'll become best friends. So it is definitely much more pleasant when the latter happens, and just having each other's back, especially when you're on your own. It can be very stressful, believe me. It can be stressful to manage a table on your own, especially at a larger show. So that was really cool. And I think it aids in the experience for everyone. So that is it. Yep. What do you know? I just about got to that 45-minute mark. I know myself all too well in my ramblings, but that is finally it. So again, congrats to the giveaway winner. Make sure you reach out to me. We'd love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. This may be the last show that I set up at. It will not be the last one I attend this year. I have several others on the calendar to go to for buying purposes, but setting up wise, I don't know how many will be left for 2022. We'll see. You never know. We have a few weeks left to go. So until next time, take care, stay safe, be kind.